All right, hopefully the glare's not too bad. So we're going to do a review on the Dayton Audio UMII 12-22, which is the dual 2 UltiMax 2 from Dayton Audio and then distributed through Parts Express. It's on clearance. Oh, nope, it's no longer available. More air, more power, more max. Key features are a thick, one-piece, no mix, honeycomb covered cone with woven heavy-duty fiberglass, or heavy-duty glass fiber. Tall boy, I don't know what that is. Tall boy rubber surround for extra long linear excursion without reducing cone area surface area. That's a lie. That's bullshit. 600 watts RMS, that's a conservative rating. Copper shorting rings and cap reduced distortion. Again, I already talked to the designer guy. He's a douchebag. The people at Parts Express don't know or care as long as they move units. Does that make sense? So if the end user thinks that copper shorting rings or aluminum shorting rings, whatever they are, reduce distortion due to inductance variations, which you're going to get inductance variations when you have a moving coil. It's moving through a steel gap. Yeah, you're going to have fluctuations. It's dual 2. It's a 2-layer copper coil, which is not true. It's aluminum. Large vented pole piece, which is true, and I'll go through the thing here real quick. But it used to sell for $224. Is it a 3-inch? With a 600 watt power handling rating, typically you get something that has a 2.5-inch coil. I'm not seeing anything else. Let me go. It comes with a 5-year warranty, which is nice, but you're basically just overpaying. That's how they can give you the 5-year warranty. There's go. Nominal diameter is 12 inches. Power handling RMS is 600 watts. Again, that's conservative. Impedance is a dual 2 ohm. Voice coil diameter is 2.5. Yeah, there we go. And then maximum linear excursion is 19 millimeter. And again, I don't like it when they talk about linear excursion or X max or anything like that because other people have lied. I'm not saying that Dayton has lied. I'm just saying because other people have lied, there is no apples to apples comparison. So the best way to really know how tall the coil is to give the wind height. And yes, wind is spelled just like wind. Same word. But you want the manufacturer to list the wind height. The wind of the coil. Actually, let's do view full specs. Impedance 4 ohm, resonant frequency basically 32. We'll say 31. DCR is 3.7. That's with the coils in series. QTS is 0.77, so you should really put it in a ported box. VAS is 1.45 cubic feet. Thank you for putting the VAS in cubic feet instead of liters. Sometimes they're just lazy when they list it in liters. And then the BL product is 12 Tesla meters, which is not very high. SD is 490 centimeters square, which again, that doesn't really matter. What you really want to look at is displacement. How much it moves in its class. So, and again, let's see. Baffle cutout. Its recommendations are sealed 1.5, which is a little on the, that's big for sealed. Vented is 2, which again is, yeah, and then they're doing vented at 25 hertz, maybe for home theater, but even then, what you're going to see is like a peter off on the response curve, when really you should see a boost at the end, because that's what you want. Again, it's not what I want or what I'm recommending. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants more output right around 30 hertz. That's just the way it is. That's the way we're built. If you port too low, like they're recommending at 25 hertz, what ends up happening is that big boost gets flattened out. and then it rolls off below that. So, is there any more specifications? What happened? I clicked that in, it doesn't really go anywhere. Q&A, you would be better off getting a 2 cubic foot prefab box and cutting 2 4-inch forms. Again, I don't like using round ports. Volume for a ported enclosure, the sub is around 4 cubic feet. He says he has his in 2.7. Again, those are too big. That's some MB enclosure type of bullshit. If they had actually used a copper coil, it might have been heavier, and that might have helped it perform better. Is this ripped up? What is this? I think it's just glue. I'm not a fan of this, but it's popular for home audio, which is really what this is meant for. Even though some people use it for a car, I think you'd be better off with like a SCAR EVL, which I think on the EVL it actually uses an aluminum coil, but it's like 60 millimeter. But so let me get the lights on and we'll go over to the sub. So, all right, so we have here UltiMax 2, Electric Boogaloo, UMII 2-22. So it's like 2 ohm dual 2. It's got the vent circle. It's got the thing. This is 3/4 inch dual 20 millimeter slugs. For that much money, they should have gone with dual 1 inch, which is what you get on the EVL, and you also get it on the DDX. So even the DDX should outperform this one, even though this one has a tighter gap. I still, again, like a real copper coil. That looks like a 7-inch spider, but I will measure real quick. Hang on. Oh my God, it fell between my legs on the floor. My fat ass. Couldn't reach it. Use the Harbor Freight. Go through the side. Get out of there. It is... yeah, 7.5. So again, I don't like this frame, but they do. So there you go. If they would have just gone with the 12-spoke frame, you know, like RE does and SCAR, then they could have used an 8-inch spider to get more excursion. I can tell right now that's a 50 millimeter wine height, which is appropriate for that suspension. The leads are, there's a lot of spider on here. 2 spiders, which again is unnecessary. So when you do that with a lower spider, what ends up happening is you limit your excursion by the smallest spider. And so let's see, that's probably 6.5. So now it only has a 6.5-inch spider. Wah, wah. I do like the single molded into the front gasket. So this is part of the surround. It's all one piece. I don't know about calling it tall boy, but you know, whatever. It's just tall rubber. I like that it's rubber. It did come off, which I would suggest stitching. And it's coming off actually really, really easy. But they give a 5-year warranty. You just got to pay for shipping. $80 in shipping. And then, oh, okay. It looks like a, let me cut that real quick. It looks like a 2-piece, but let me cut it. I'm seeing it now as I cut into it. So this is a glue joint, and this is a dust cap. And so this glue joint gets hidden by the surround. So, but I just cut the X in it, like Dave showed me at PSI. Let me pull that off. Okay, I was wrong. It's not a cap. That's actually the cone. So what they have is a paper base. So they have a paper neck. It looks like not a lot of epoxy, but whatever, CA or epoxy doesn't really matter at this point. It's not very solid, I should say. I like the strength of this cone though. This is a glass fiber cone and it is very strong. I like it, and it's very stiff and it's not brittle. It did not come off easy. I think they would have been better coming out all the way with a real paper cone all the way out and then just using a carbon fiber dust cap to reinforce the paper cone. It's always better to use a nice, at least 1 millimeter, if not 2 millimeter thick paper cone. There's a lot of benefits to it, but typically if they're going to do a two-piece like this, what they do is they, I was getting ready to say chintz, but chintz is a derogatory term for Chinese. Yeah, if you ever want to read it, you just look up, I think it's the Air Force, but and they had us read it, which was the Big Book of Derogatory Terms, and then just put the Big Book of Derogatory Terms, and then put PDF, and it should come up as a PDF. It should be free anyway because it's from the Air Force, and you get to read all the slurs that there are. So, anyways, but now I'm conscious of that. So I was going to say it looks kind of chintzy, but yeah, they just cheaped out. So, but again, I think a lot of this was factory recommendations. I think maybe the motor might have been a joint project by that designer guy that I briefly talked to. But more than likely, it's just, you know what, I'm not going to guess. There you go. I'm not going to guess. But this is definitely not a copper coil, and it is 2-layer, which I'm a little disappointed in. I wish they would have done a 4-layer copper, just to give it a little more heft. And then you can go with this, you can control it with a different spider. So this is telling me that they probably just asked for something off the shelf, and this company happened to provide that. And then, so there's that. It is a cast frame, which is a nice touch. Bolt hole circle looks like 120 millimeter. It's a little narrow. And then it looks like they have a little puck here on top that is glued. And then they probably have the shorting rings on the inside of the magnets, which again, I don't recommend, because eventually what happens is they just glue them in there. And technically they should be magnetically isolated, conductive, electrically isolated, and it's very difficult to do that. What you end up having to do is really just enamel it, and then you epoxy it in place. And again, I don't like when you just epoxy things because they always end up coming loose. And then also, if you look at, and again, I would love to see somebody that is got the money and also the prestige, like Dayton Audio and this foo-foo engineer that I badmouth, to show the difference on a scope of the difference between a shorting ring and without a shorting ring. And then ask yourself, can you hear the difference? Because if you can't hear the difference, it doesn't matter. So just because it looks a little cleaner on a no scope at low power, because what happens is when you run these things, you know, the way that you really want to use them, there's so much energy going through there, it saturates and kills any sort of efficiency or reduction of oppositional eddy currents, whatever you're saying that it claims. And again, I would love to see somebody do it on an O-scope and show me, prove it, because if it really worked, everybody would do it. And I've done many designs without it, and mine do just fine. Again, what I like to do is give you more girth, more gunzo, and then it solves a whole bunch of other problems that you run into. So let's go ahead and finish this up. Bumped and vented T-yoke, just the regular 8-gauge terminals with tabs and insulated leads, which is mostly just for decoration for nice. This is a plastic spacer, so they don't really need to be insulated, but it helps you keep track that positive is always on the left when dealing with loudspeakers. As far as the best buy, it's not a great buy. Now, if it was about $150, $180, yeah, definitely. So because production cost on this is going to be about $45. So they're buying it for $45, and they have, containers coming probably every week or at least twice a month for Parts Express. So, that's already being paid for by a bunch of, whatever else they import. And this is their product, right? So there's Parts Express, which is the distributor, right, the retailer. And then there's Dayton Audio, which is the brand within, that is owned by whoever owns whatever parent or umbrella company owns Parts Express. So it's not bad. I just think it's overpriced for what it is. And it's definitely not copper. That's aluminum. And just so you know, flat versus round makes no difference. That has to do with how it fits in the gap. And if you're designing a woofer from scratch, the first thing you want to design is the coil. And then you design the motor around the coil. Because that's what's going to give you a lot more features and stuff like that in the future, performance and all that kind of stuff. So whoever did this one crashed it out and then arced it. So they were pretty abusive on it. And honestly, the copper does better thermally, especially 4 layers. There's just more heft there. They used an aluminum coil to save money. And then I also don't like the fact that their website says it's copper and it's not. So it might be CCA, but this is not copper. It's not even flat copper. So even if it is flat copper, which I don't think it is, but even if it is, it's weak. It's weak. Having a tight gap is not a good thing. Everybody thinks it's a good thing. Oh, it's more efficient. Oh, DD's been doing it for years. It's not. Don't do it. Have a nice floppy, sloppy gap, and it does just fine. If you want to look for a nice floppy, sloppy gap, look at the Sundown Audio SA version 1, which is the classic. That thing shims up with 3 fucking business cards. And it performs like a champ. It still transfers heat really well, and it's good for, like, they rated it, I think, 650 or 750 now. But people run them at 1100 all the time. It's a good solid product. And typically those are only, I think last time I checked was about 215 shipped. But check your pricing, check your specials. But again, I like the DDX better because it uses a slightly bigger voice coil, and I think there was something else I liked about the DDX. And you can rebadge it real easy. So, because again, you just take off a couple stickers and then, put on your magic, and then presto, you can resell it, which is what I recommend. If you know about me, then you have a huge advantage over the rest of the audio world. And then also you have a huge advantage over, the normies, the civilians. And you look like a wizard, not a grand wizard, but just like a regular wizard. And with a wizard sleeve. But, you're the expert, when it comes to this stuff, and you can make your recommendations. And I would love to see more people use Scar and Rockville in home theater. So because it's a really good product, it performs really well, it costs very little, and you can rebadge it, and it's as good or better than Velodyne, Focal. Some guy got his feelings hurt the other night in the forums, the SQ forums on Facebook, when I told him that Boss makes just as good of equipment as Hertz, because I was comparing the Hertz Milli to some other Boss product. And, I knew this was hurt his feelings. And Sheri was like, "You're so mean." And I'm like, "I'm not mean. It's just, it's a truth bomb where it's hard. I know it's a huge betrayal because you put your faith in these companies that make very good looking product, and it's very expensive. And to find out that they're tricking you and they're really fucking you, not in the butthole, they're fucking you in the pee hole. It's kind of disturbing, and you don't want it to be true, but that's exactly what they're doing. So they're charging you way too much. And the most egregious version is, of course, JL Audio, which uses plastic parts on their top end woofers. And it's because it's cheaper. It's not because it's better. If it was better, everybody would use it. So, but again, they have control measures in there to where when you burn up a coil, they go, "Oh, it's out of warranty. It's not warranted." There are things that you can do in production that do not cost any more, or cost very little more, or very little additional cost, that are good performing things. One of the things I liked on here was this glass fiber cap or cone extension, whatever you want to call it. So it's a one piece. In fact, the ones that I'm coming out with as replacements to Sunfire, we're actually going to do a 2-piece. So 2-piece laminated, and it's going to be very, very strong. So because the glass fiber caps that we got from the factory in all those colors, that's what they use. Sometimes they use aramid on the inner cap. Sometimes they use just regular, like a different color, like an off color glass fiber on the inside. Let me show you real quick. All right, so we got these. So that's the black glass fiber, and then you can see on the inside, it has a tighter weave material, and typically they call that Nomex, even though it's probably glass fiber anyway too. But you can also use Nomex. The strength is really in that the fibers and then the resin. So and this is probably just phenolic resin. And these turn out really nice. This is the 2-layer though. It's very, very strong. And I had them make this in the 180. Yeah, this is the convex. And then you can flip it over and it's concave, but we also have a concave version. So, and then here was the copper on the outside. In the camera, it looks way bright. Like it looks orange, but in real life, it's copper and black. There you go. So again, it just depends on the light. And then a different color on the inside. When I'm doing this, you want to remove that, you want to like rough it up too. And then I use epoxy. So then here's my yellow, which is like a faux Kevlar. So it's not real Kevlar. And remember that Kevlar is just another aramid fiber. Kevlar, the name Kevlar is actually a trademark, I think, of DuPont. So not that they really care anymore because they're so huge and they just kill tons of people. But yeah, like I was talking about Santoprene, surround this again. Santoprene is a trademark, but it can still be used by anybody, and their patent, their trademark is they probably don't exercise it a lot anyway. Because that was in the 90s. It was like Monsanto, the company that cares. They're like, watch out, DuPont. We can kill more people. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this has been valuable, and I appreciate your feedback and your comments. If you have any questions, let me know. Oh yeah, let me promote the amplifiers. We still have some of the 4-channel amplifiers from the Recoil Audio DI series. The DI 550.4 is only $60. The 800.4 is $70, and this is shipped to any of the 48 states, lower 48. And then the big boy, the DI 1200.4, is only $85. We're running out of the mono version of that, the DI 1200.1, but we have plenty of the DI 600.1s, which do about 720 watts, and they're 2 ohm optimized. So we still have a bunch of those. I still have a bunch of the RED 1800.5. Those are only $130 shipped, and those are awesome, badass, all Class D. Compare them to JP's amps all day long. And then I think we still have some of the 1200.1s, which are only $110 each shipped. And those do 1500 watts RMS, 1 ohm stable. I think I still have a couple of the 1800.1s and some of the Class AB REA 600.4 for only $70 shipped. Basically giving it away. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have products that you want me to review, send them to me. This is my friend Michael in New York sent me this, and we did like a little trade because I'm like, hey, I've been wanting to look at that. And so sometimes because I have really good deals on shipping, sometimes I can send you a shipping container and then with a return label, and then it ships back to me. And so he gave me this and a JL Audio 12 version 3, which I'm going to do a review on. And then I think I have some other stuff coming too, but I wanted to do this to get it out of the way so that I could prep it for Recone. And then I'll do another video on the Recone and how I decide to utilize this. But thanks for watching. I love you. Talk to you later.